for our language arts, which are Ember, City of Ember, Chapter 2, Part 1, and our question of the day. So I'm going to add some more people on in here. I want to make sure everybody's on board. Make sure, good. We're getting everybody. I like how everyone's right on time. I saw Riley jumping right on in, ready to go at 11:15 or 10. So good job, everybody, for coming on in right at the right time. I do want to try to break it up a little bit to make sure that you guys get some breaks in this. So it's not all sitting all the time. So we're going to go ahead and we'll go over how to do the question of the day today. We'll also go over our summary, and then we're going to give you some time to work on it, followed by our lunch, recess time, and then we'll have our 1 p.m. meeting to talk about the iReady diagnostic. So if you have your mic on, just make sure you mute it up for me. As you come on in right now, boys and girls, I want to make sure that we have everybody's settings correct here. So get started. Okay, we got somebody, Henry, or somebody here, I think, has got their mic. If you have a question, Henry?
My mic won't mute.
Okay. There you go.
Never mind, it's just started working.
Okay. Yeah, sometimes, right. So, understand you guys are get everybody. I think everybody's here. We got some more people coming on in. So let me get those people all in there. Okay. I think we'll get everybody here. And let me just get Hunter in there. And I think we got everybody to right now that's waiting to get in the lobby. All right, if you have your microphone on, just make sure you mute it. I'm going to go ahead and unmute the chat feature so that now some of you I know are having troubles with the chat. So once I unmute it, if you guys are still not able to chat, just raise your hand and let me know if you have a question. And we'll go ahead and get started. Okay. Good. All right, we'll go ahead and get ourselves started with the assignment and tell you about what we're doing for the assignment. Yeah, I know it is. Just make sure, boys and girls, and you don't need to type in test or anything. If you're unmuted, you'll know when you ask a question and it doesn't go and it goes through. Otherwise, you don't need to type test in there because it's just, you'll know. So I want you to go ahead and just leave those off. We're going to go ahead and screen share, show you what we're doing on with our agenda and show over our assignments. And so we'll go ahead and start here. You should now see your agenda. And we're going to go ahead and get started with the agenda part of this. Let me just pull this up and we'll get on in. All right, boys and girls, today for the next part, we're going to be working on the Ember Chapter 2, Part 1 summary and question of the day. Warning, don't start this activity until you've watched this lesson or the lesson recording. That way you'll know the correct way to complete this assignment. I want to make sure you know the rubric and make sure you understand the expectations we have for the summary and for the question of the day. First of all, I want to tell you what you're going to be reading today so you understand what you're going to be reading so that you don't read too much because it's a really long chapter and I don't want you to feel like, oh my gosh, I've got tons to read. We're going to break this chapter up into 2 parts. We'll work on the first part of it today and we'll work on the second part of it tomorrow. What we're going to do is we're going to work on, let me zoom in a little more on this so you can see what I'm talking about here. And you can also find this in your agenda so you'll see. It's a little confusing because we have the paper, some of you bought a paper book, and that's okay. Some of you have the digital version, which means it's the one that's in the on the class website. If you have the class website version, you're only going to read about page 21 to 22. It's the same as what everybody else is reading in the paper book. It's just laid out differently. You're going to be reading all the way up until you see the words talk 3 times faster. Then you're done. Once you see the words talk 3 times faster, which is page 22 in the digital version, or page 26 in the paper book, you can stop. You're done with the chapter part 1. You don't have to read all. I think it's quite a lot of pages. I think there's almost 20 pages total or 23 pages. So I want you only to read the first part, which is about 9 pages or so, 10 pages in the paper book and 2 long pages in the digital version. But I only want you to focus on those. let's go ahead and talk about our 12-word summary right here. So we're going to start today by reading our book and writing a 12-word summary. As we get better and better with writing summaries and knowing what to do, I won't spend as much time explaining about what to do for a summary, but I want to make sure you know the process so everyone is on board with it and understands it. Let me show you what we're going to do. You should have a piece of paper that we already worked on. It should say your name. It should have the date, and then City of Ember, or COE for your abbreviation, summary, chapter 2, and part 1. Perfect. Next thing you want to do is you want to have here the words summary words. I think Abby asked a question a few minutes ago about whether or not we need to write a summary word per page. And the question is yes, on the real book version, usually about a summary word per page. If you're using the digital version, and I'll show you what I'm talking about right here. But if you're using a real book, some of you bought the real book, and just one word per page is probably good enough to help you remember what's going on. Let me show you the digital version, boys and girls, so you can kind of get an idea of what you should be doing on this. Let me pull up that. All right. Let's go ahead and take a look over here on the digital version. Riley, you got the paper version. That's good to see. You don't have to show us, but I got it. Thanks, Riley. Let me go ahead and open the link so you can see what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the digital book. The digital book, boys and girls, has got a little bit different page numbers than the real book. Still got the cover, but you're just going to go to the beginning of chapter 2, which I could probably have jumped down to instead of scrolling forever and ever. So what I'll do, no worries, Riley. All right. Now, chapter 1 is assignment day. We've already read that. Chapter 2 is a message to the mayor. That's where we're going to begin. Now, if you notice when we read this one, we're going to read 1 page and 2 page, and then you're going to see the words talk 3 times faster. And normally there's a little line there, and that's where you're going to stop today. So it's only 2 pages on the text in the what we call online version. What I would do in this type of situation where you only have 2 pages, but you want to remember a lot, maybe use every 2 paragraphs. So maybe after reading this and this, you'll be writing a word. Maybe after this paragraph and this paragraph, you want to write a word. You want to have about 6 or 7 words as you read through here after you read a paragraph or 2 paragraphs that help to remind you of each part of this chapter. So as you read through it, you should have about 6, 7, maybe 8, 9 summary words, 1 for each paragraph or 2 paragraphs that show you something that's going to remind you what happened. When you see 3 times faster and you see that little line right there, you are done with today's reading. Tomorrow, what I'd like to do is hopefully read aloud with you. So we'll do that as a read aloud, but today I like to read by ourselves, and then tomorrow we'll get to a read aloud, and then you can answer your summary words that way. Let me go ahead and now start. Now, Maisie, are you asked if we have to do we have to use all the words? You want to have about 6 or 7 summary words at the minimum, just about every paragraph or so that you read, just to make sure you don't forget anything that happened in the summary. So you want to do that. You want to use all 6 or 7 words, and then we're going to write a 12-word sentence using a starter. Let me show you what I mean by that. So what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead right here and take a look back at our lines. Line piece of paper. This is where I want you to write your summary words. Right here, I want you to write your 12-word summary sentence. And I want you to use a summary starter. So a summary starter this time, I want you to think, we're not going to actually read all of chapter 2. We're only going to use part 1 of chapter 2, or the first part of chapter 2. Now, a summary sentence starter says, usually the chapter was mostly about, or the story was mostly about. I want you using the chat feature to write down what do you think would be a good summary starter? Like, how would you start the sentence? Aiden, I know you weren't able to chat, so just go ahead and tell me what you would say.
This part of the book is mostly about.
Yeah, this part of the book is mostly about, or you could even, yeah, that's one way to say it. Does anyone have another way to say it? Kate, I notice you can't chat, so you want to go ahead and add on something to me?
This chapter was mainly about.
Yeah, or even better, maybe this part of the chapter was mainly about. That's good. Ava?
You could say this. You could say this chapter. This chapter was about.
Yeah, are mainly about or mostly about. That's good. Yeah, I like that. Mike said the part of the chapter was about, or this part of the chapter was about. Good. Derek said the part was mostly about. Maybe I'd add in like the part of the chap. This part of the chapter was mostly about. Even better. Maisie, you want to go ahead?
I was gonna say like this half of the chapter.
Oh, I like that. This half of the chapter was mostly about. That's a great way to add in there. Aubrey, do you want to add in?
I wanted to say maybe the part that we read was about.
Yeah, I like that. The part that we read or the part of the chapter we read. Jace, thanks for joining in. What do you want to say? Can you type it in the chat, Jace, or are you not able to chat?
I'm not able to chat.
Okay, thanks for letting me know. We seem to be having some difficulties with that today with some people. So go ahead and tell me what your idea was.
The part of the chapter was mostly about.
Yeah, this part of the chapter is mostly about. Jace, you want to be our final person for this one? Jace, if you can unmute your microphone if you're having trouble chatting and just let me know what your idea was. Carter, if you need to go, that's fine. I'll be recording this lesson if you need to come on back. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and now someone asked, what if you can't fill your words in a sentence? Use your summary words to help you. But oh, Carter, I'm sorry. Yes, go ahead and say your idea. I thought I couldn't see your hand raised there, so go ahead. No problem.
This part about the city of Ember was mainly about.
Yeah, perfect. This part of the city of Ember was mainly about. That'll work fine too. All right. Jacob, I noticed you just joined us here. I'm recording this lesson, so you'll be able to have it in there later on if you need to. We're going to go ahead. I want to do this next. Abby, go ahead and your school email. I'm going to go ahead and just jot that down. I won't be able to access that right now during the lesson, but I can once we're starting to work, and then I will email you so you know what your school, well, actually I'll email your parents too, so they'll know what your school email is. And we'll do that though. So I'm just going to jot down a note, Abby email. All right, boys and girls, do this for me. I want you down at the bottom here. Carter, do you have a question? Okay. I want you to remind you, I'm going to go ahead and just mute us up for this one final part here, is I want you to look at cups. Cups are going to have capitalization, usage, punctuation, so make sure your summary sentence has those things in there, your starter and your summary sentence. All right. Let's go ahead and we're going to flip over the page to give you the next assignment. So what I'll do, let's take a really quick stretch break if you need to. I'm going to just stretch out my hands a little bit, just make sure that I'm ready. If you need to walk for a second, just do that. I'll move my legs a little bit. This is our final assignment for language arts, so I want to show it to you on the back page of the summary. So we're going to look at our paper here. We're going to flip our paper over now. We're going to write in our question of the day here. So let's do this. Let's flip it over. This is on the back page of our summary, boys and girls. If you have questions at this point, I'm going to unmute it. So if you could type in those questions. I'm also going to move this over here so I can see some of the hands. And I'd like you to put again your name, and I'm sure you guys are already pretty good at knowing what to do here. You're going to put your date. And then over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be putting City of Ember. I'll put COE just as a shortcut. I'm going to be putting my box here. I'm going to put question of the day. And I'll put chapter 2. And then I might want to add part 1 if I can fit it in, just to remind me that that's part 1 of our question of the day. Ember, question of the day, chapter 2, part 1. I want you to write your answer to the question of the day on your paper on the back of your summary first. Then you're going to be doing both your summary and your question of the day. You're going to be typing those in so that we can look at them and review them. But first do them on these papers here so that you can write, edit, change. It's a little bit easier to do that, and then you'll be typing them in. Yes, Henry? Okay, Henry, I'm just going to go ahead and put our hand down if you're not having a question. Okay, good, you got it. Okay, Henry, you got a question?
Sorry about that. No, I don't have a question.
Okay, no problem. All right, we're going to go ahead and Riley, you have a question? And Jacob, do you have a question? Okay, looks like we're having some glitchiness here with it. So Jacob, I'm not sure if you're able to chat with me.
I can't use the chat.
Okay, Jacob, thanks for letting me know because I did
And I
unmute.
also have a question.
Okay.
How many pages are we gonna read of the chapter?
Okay, Jacob, I already talked about that earlier in the lesson, but what I did is you'll see it on the agenda. It's the first half of the chapter, and in the agenda you'll see the details about that. So it's pages 17 to 26, or the first 2 pages if you're reading the digital version. So that way you'll be able to see it. If you're not sure, just double check on there. Looks like we're having some glitchiness on this, so I understand if you guys are having some troubles getting on. So the agenda has all the details you need about how to do things if something happens. And I'm also be recording these lessons. All right, we're going to go ahead and I want to show you the question of the day so you see what you're going to be writing today. Whoops, that we don't need that. We just need my agenda. So I'm going to go to my agenda. Boys and girls, you're going to see 2 things in the agenda today. You're going to see your summary, where you type your summary in once you're done writing it. You're also going to see a place where you can read your question of the day and then type your answer. So I'm going to open that up. I'm going to go over the question really briefly, and then I'll be able to show it to you. Or then you'll be able to get started on it. I want you to go ahead and take a look right here. City of Ember, Chapter 2, Part 1, question of the day. And don't worry, guys. I know that some of you are saying if you actually raise your hands because it's glitchy, I totally get it. But let's go and take a look right here. You're going to read Chapter 2 of City of Ember from the beginning of Chapter 2 to the words talk 3 times faster. And there's some page numbers that'll tell you where to find everything. And I want to make sure that you're typing your first and last name. You guys are doing a really good job of putting that in there. Just make sure you do it, because if I don't see it, I won't know who turned it in. And then I can't tell whose paper it is or whose assignment it is. Here's our question of the day. Lena and Dune used to be friends when they were younger. Why are they no longer friends? I want you to use what you read in Chapter 2, Part 1, to support your answer. So I want you to make sure you read Chapter 2, Part 1, and then afterwards find out there's going to be some good reasons in there about why they're no longer friends. I want you to do that. Abby, you have a question?
Isn't her name pronounced Lena?
What's that?
Isn't her name pronounced Lena?
You know what? We went back and forth with this last year about it. I thought it was Lena. Some people said it was Lena. I'm not sure. Since you don't really pronounce it in the book, season 1, but if you see it in the movie and remind me, let me know, okay? I kind of went back and forth about this last year. Henry, just go ahead and mute your microphone because I noticed that you were starting to see it. Thank you, Mike, for your pronunciation suggestion. Lena. All right, let's go ahead and take a look. The last thing I want you to remember is that your focus today, we want to begin with an answer sentence. And we also want to use cups. So I'm putting the C over there as cups. So I'm really, Mrs. Church and I are going to really look at seeing how well you use capitals, usage, punctuation, and spelling when you type. And that's it. That's how you submit your question of the day today. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording on this part of it.